have definitely gridded out their garden beds before. You guys can definitely grid. Just real gently kind of, you can grass the really bottom of the plant, just grass it really gently and pull very lightly. As you're pulling, kind of squish the container and it kind of squishes it out. Okay.
We're going to put it more towards the middle, right? Leave room for the lettuce.
Probably maybe 2 rows and then we'll do lettuces around there if that's okay.
The vision came to be just with the Butte County Local Food Network and Campfire Restoration. Butte County Local Food Network is dedicating their expertise and they're coming into the classroom and teaching lessons. It started with cooking with the Grown program, and now we're actually growing the food to use in our food labs. So you were here for the first build. We had a 3,000 gallon tank that Starbucks had donated to the school district. So Robert was able to make things happen, and now we have a 3,000 gallon. It's almost topped off right now.
It's something that is necessary for anything, water. It starts with that. We do not have a shortage of water. I know we're in a drought, but what we do have is a shortage of capturing the water.
Robert, I'm super excited to find out what you've got planned for this site.
Well, this project's going to be a community garden with educational benefits. It will be a rainwater catchment system to feed the garden. It will stack functions according to all that we have here. It's a beautiful site with the perfect opportunity to make everything flow, and we're using Mother Nature to do it, all by gravity. We have the ideal situation of getting a 3,000 gallon water tank donated to the school system, which we'll be using here. We'll be creating a pad to put it on, and then from there we'll be going downhill to the community garden, which it will go rain tank down to the garden beds, which will be built as a wicking bed. So we'll have 2 sources of capturing water and holding it and storing it, which they can use throughout the year.
Great.
For this project, size is not the important thing, but the concept. You can do any system, any size, and capture water and utilize it throughout the year. But we are going to show you both large scale and small scale capturing, which anybody can do. And with that, that's going to be around 60 gallons that it will hold, because it will be a 4x8.
Oh, the wicking bed?
The wicking bed itself.
Okay.
So that will hold approximately 60 gallons of water for the garden bed itself. And we will be installing 2 of those on this project. We are going to be putting the 3,000 gallon tank here at the end of this patio, capturing the water coming off of this downspout, and then from there we'll run tubing underground all the way out to the site where we're actually going to install the garden beds. And this will be developed as a community garden that is going to be more for educational purpose rather than the community coming here and actually gardening themselves.
I see. So you've selected this, awesome roof. You've got this kind of perfect spot that you can build up as a pad to set the tank on. It's right next to a downspout that already exists, so you'll just tap into that?
Correct. Most of the people that I have dealt with already had rain gutters installed, not realizing that the downspout actually goes to the soil. If we start capturing that and using it where we need it, garden beds, orchards, gardens in general, it can take that water away from the house, because you do not want water sitting around the foundation, and utilizing it, capturing it, and storing it, so that during the dry months you have what is essentially free water.
So free water, you're moving it away from the foundation of your house. It's a win-win.
It's a win all the way around.
Great.
So we are sitting underneath 5,845 square feet of surface, collectible rainwater surface. But of course we don't want to collect it all. We're going to be actually looking at just a quarter of this, simply because we would need 74 of these tanks to collect all that water. And obviously we don't have enough room. When we did design this, we wanted to make sure that if the school wanted to add to it, they can very simply stack or daisy chain tanks together so they could actually collect more water. We're dealing with just the south portion of this, which is approximately 55,000 gallons of water. This is the wicking bed, by the way. We have soil and plants above. We put down landscape cloth to keep the soil from getting into the water reservoir. We filled it with rock so that we can fill it with water. Now, the beauty about this, the plants will suck up as much water as they need. You don't need water from the top because it has a reservoir. And these will hold just about 60 gallons of water. Our wicking bed will be pond liner, rock, landscape cloth, and then soil on top of that. At this point, we're going to go ahead and install the brace that's going to hold on the metal 90-degree fitting to transfer over to the tank. We're going to go ahead and transition over to the PVC portion of it, which again, using no hubs. And we'll just tighten this down, and everything else is PVC. So I utilize no hubs quite often when I'm trying to do a transition. Two reasons: it's easily maintained, can be replaced if it should wear out. These are specifically designed by a plumbing company for in-ground use, so we know that they're going to last a fairly long time. So there it is, fastened to the wall. This is secure, and we can go ahead and transition over to our fill. What we're doing here is putting Teflon tape on the threads. The roof will produce so much water that this tank won't hold it all. So we need to design into a system an overflow and something that's not going to create gullies or washed out areas in the future. This is already existing. This is a French drain underneath this wall. All 4 downspouts are attached to it. So we know when this was engineered, it can handle and carry the volume of water that will run through it. Okay, at this stage of the game, we're going to go ahead and make our assembly to transition into the fill, plus provide an overflow. Thank you.
All good. Okay.
Then I need to take off, I'm going to say 2 inches. To come back.
Sort of like for my own stuff.
Come on, baby.
There you go.
Come to Papa.
Yeah, you did it. Not bad. Pretty good.
Here's another example of what a no hub would be, but it's a transition. So it goes from 2-inch, which is our drain system, to 3-inch, which is the existing. So we can transition from one size to another. And these are readily available anywhere. So the last thing we do here is tighten that hose clamp, and it's pretty much there. So up top here, we have our 3-inch reducing down into a 2-inch fill going into the tank. Once the tank is full, that T-fitting will fill up, and then the water will follow it across over to the downspout now of the overfill. And then it goes right back down into the French drain where it was originally pathed before we got here. So as far as the filling and overflow, that section's done. Now we're going to move on to tying in the wicking beds and garden boxes. That's our shutoff valve for the tank. We're going to cut a little piece of pipe. Pretend this is that piece of pipe we cut. We're going to glue it on there. We're going to glue it on here. And it's going to come out at a slope. Does everybody see that black tube that's out of the ground?
Yes, this one right here.
That is going to hook up to this.
Sorry.
And this is our main line.
Uh-huh.
The poly tubing, which is the black, this stuff that we see here, that's for lower pressure irrigation.
Poly tubing, lower
Poly
pressure.
Tubing, lower pressure. Your drip pardon me?
Polly can't take the precious.
Poly can't take that. I love it.
Poly can't take it.
That's great.
And is it always black?
The white that we see here, this is PVC, polyvinyl chloride, used every day in irrigation. It has a problem with the sun. I like to paint it with latex paint because the chloride gases off and turns it brittle. So when you're using this outside, do a little slap of latex paint, white preferably, because it reflects the heat, not absorb it. And then that'll protect it and make it last longer. Pardon me?
Or bury it.
Or, exactly, or bury it. We have no choice here what we're doing. And then you've seen black piping, the big stuff. It's mainly used for drainage. That's ABS. We usually stay away from that. That's for wastewater and things like that.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Woohoo! We're proud of you.
You two can be a landscaper.
That's all I needed. That was the missing piece.
Yeah, right?
Just go ahead and grab that side. And that's good.
Okay.
So, yeah, see, so then
And
that's
are we
good.
even in terms of how much?
And this
extra on
side looks real good.
that? Okay. Okay.
Now, in one of our wicking bed workshops, somebody asked, well, doesn't the rubber off-gas and contaminate plants? And the answer is, it does, but the molecules are too big for a plant to absorb. So it does not affect the plants. And this is specifically made for pond. This is pond liner.
Right.
So, you want to pull the liner up more?
Hey!
Are we doing hospital folds?
Hospital fold.
That's what my mom used to call it
There.
when you made your bed. I want a hospital fold. Oh, okay.
Military.
Sounds militant.
Military, yeah. Navy brat.
Get that dime
Look
out,
at that.
flip it, and make sure that it bounces.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So now we're ready for rock. So this
Yes.
is going to be a rock
Rock and roll.
good time. I think so. Yeah. It's time.
Okay, so this is going to get a layer of, this will be cut off up to here. Let's get a layer of landscape cloth and then soil on top of it. The water's going to actually fill to the bottom of the soil, and capillary action will draw it up to the vegetables and their roots when needed. So the bottom of it will remain wet while the top is dry enough but yet still moist that the plants can survive, even thrive, because their roots will dip down and take as much water as they need. So the whole bed does not remain saturated, and our overflow going out the backside is going to make sure that the water only stays to a certain level. I saw that in your eyes. Would you be so kind as to hold it right there?
Beautiful, yes.
Well,
We got two active.
all right.
Staples down on the.
We don't want staples in this region down where my hand is, but yeah, just keep them up high because we're going to fill this with soil, and that's going to keep it all up.
Yeah, it'll keep it against the sun.
Yeah.
Right, flush up against the sun.
There you go. Okay, so I just punched a hole in here to accept the bulkhead that we're going to install, and this is overflow bulkhead from the first to the second wicking bed. And let's get started. That in there. Hey, didn't somebody already do that? This will flow through, and that's the ideal situation. Raining or you're filling, you can fill from one bed and fill them both at the same time. That'll save you a little bit of time or effort. But by dividing them in two with two fill valves, we still have the opportunity, if this needs more water and this one doesn't, we can just fill this bed. When we go to fill this, we want our bulkheads covered with the landscape cloth to keep dirt from going into our tubes. So you ended up having to open up that other roll of...
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think this was enough, the partial row I brought, but... Okay, when it goes to get filled, it's a two-person process, and you don't just dump the dirt in. Somebody actually holds this against the sides. So, exactly. And a little bit of binding or a little bit of bunching here in the corner is a good thing.
Could you do something like this and just like...
You could absolutely do something like that. Yeah.
Especially just because we're going to leave it without soil, so maybe
Yeah.
instead of...
And the wind will continue to blow. the clean out. So come winter time, evacuate the water, and that way it won't freeze. So now this stage of the game, we have everything hooked up. We're going to go ahead and fill the system with water. We're going to measure how much water goes into the system, and at the same time see how the wicking beds, how well they fill up and overflow and work like the design was supposed to. So this is our test. Yep, we are under pressure. So nothing dripping. That looks good. This looks good. And that looks good. Okay, I think we're good to go. This is working exactly as we wanted it to. You can see that the water's actually flowing into the bed through the overflow. So when you go to fill these things with soil, you go ahead and make sure, go ahead and put yep, right in that corner. And just get a whole bunch more.
Yep.
And we're going to hold the landscape cloth up and tuck it in. And that will keep the soil and the rocks somewhat separate. Okay.
So when we get up higher with the soil, I mean, you want
So
to
you
keep
can then
this the whole time?
nope,
or no?
you can tuck this. You can tuck this. See, we already have a seal against the thing,
Oh, I see.
so you can tuck it now. Bury it.
Okay.
So all we're doing is putting soil down in here. That way it will hold it from, and then it's a tuck and roll kind of thing.
Nice.
So when you're filling these things up and you're setting your overflows, that's too deep. You don't want that much water sitting in your soil. But this is ideal. See, I'm sitting right on rock, your hand showing. So that's about a ½ inch or so. It's actually ideal to fill the thing up and see where the water is sitting before you put the landscape cloth in. That way you can tell whether you're too high or too low with both your fill and your overflow. If your overflow is sitting a little bit low, then you just take a little more rock out. Or if it's sitting a little bit too high, then you put a little more rock in to make it even. Again, a ½ inch of water is ideal. Roots do go through the cloth. And if this gets drawn down enough, the roots will actually go through the cloth to the water. The roots will find the water. Yes, it's supposed to be a barrier, but it's not absolute. Roots will pass through it. So let's just say, for example, it holds 60 gallons of water. As far as trans-evaporation, meaning the water will be sucked up by the plants and evaporated in the air, depends on how many plants you have in here and what kind of plants. Of course, the more bushy and leafy the plant, the more trans-evaporation will happen. So if it's all root vegetable, then it will actually hold water longer than if it's a bush of peppers or tomatoes, because those will have much broader leaves. You'd have to check it weekly to begin with, and then actually adjust it by the weather that you're having, whether it's a hot, dry spell with a lot of wind or not.
So don't be intimidated by this particular project and the size of the
Right.
water tank that's being installed in this project. You can utilize the concepts for even a 55-gallon barrel.
You can utilize a 55-gallon barrel as a catchment, pipe it out, and fill hugel beds.
Any kind of garden bed, I
Any
guess.
kind of garden
or
bed.
any
You can
garden.
dig a ditch and put rock in it and bury it and have a tank in the ground by simply burying some rock. And you could walk on it. I mean,
Right.
there are so many different things to do. And we have another water storage that's actually down in the ground. So that will keep overflowing. This will fill up and wick out as the soil needs it. Tuck the ends, fold it over, just like a burrito. And the only reason why we're using the landscape cloth with the rock will eventually fill up with silt. So this helps keep most of that silt out and allows for more water. You can make a wicking bed out of a planter, a little 15-gallon planter or a 5-gallon planter. Again, the whole concept is storing the water and utilizing the plant, utilizing that water storage. Right now, we lose so much topsoil because no one's stopping and slowing and allowing the water to sink. By putting the gardens on contour here, we are doing exactly that, slowing and sinking the water. So that's another reason why you want to know what contour of your land is. If you're not going to do garden beds, at least do little shelves, because anytime you put water on a flat surface, it's going to slow it and sink it.
Right.
And that is so important. The ground is our greatest water storage we can ever have. And it's the least expensive.
It's right here.
It's already
under
here.
our feet.